This video will piss off a lot of the top students. I know what it feels like to be at the bottom of the class. Everyone treats you like trash. Your own friends make fun of you. The teacher mocks you for being an average kid. Nobody thinks that you can achieve anything in life, even your own parents. Meanwhile, the top students get treated like a king and everyone follows their orders. Well, I was in the same situation a couple of years back when I was in college. They called us the bottom 10, and I was tired of just being an average student until one day, the teacher forced me to sit in the front with the best student of the class. As I was observing him, reality hit me like a truck because we had been told lies. Instead of writing everything, the topper made his notes in such a way that even after peeking at it once, I immediately understood the whole topic. From that day on, I went from the bottom G to the top G in no time. These are the 5 ways to use notes that the toppers don't want you to know. Here's what you and almost every other student do. They make notes that look more like a textbook. Your pages are filled with alphabets. You're running out of ink, yet you can't remember anything. Long sentences, no bullets, and a plain black pointer. Well, this is what I used to do until that day when I discovered that the topper of my class doesn't follow this. His notes were filled with charts, graphs, and diagrams because the brain remembers pictures better than bland text. It is proven by science that if you convert information into visuals, you can retain it 65% better. If your notes look like a textbook, why even bother making notes? You will forget those faster than your ex. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you learned a complete chunk of text and forgot it just before the test? You can't remember everything. You need to use arrows to make relationships between concepts. Use different colors to trigger the brain sensors. Use flowcharts and mind maps to pack an ocean of content in just 2 diagrams. This will not only make the learning process faster, but it will also make it more engaging. From now on, follow these steps when making notes, because the more your notes look like a picture, the more information your brain will absorb. You need to overload your brain with information, yes. Stop being lazy and do the heavy lifting. You don't see the top students always taking notes, do you? Most students are too soft on their brains, thinking that they don't need to overload themselves. Well, in reality, the opposite is true, because the toppers don't play by the rules. They don't just read a chapter, learn the highlighted text, and move on, thinking they have read enough. First, they overload their brain with information. Then they make the notes. Whenever you take notes, as the teacher is teaching, your brain runs into a 404 error because it can't handle 2 functions at once properly. Instead of taking notes immediately, make notes when you have collected information from the lecture. After the lecture, read a textbook, watch a video, do some practice, rewrite your memory notes. After doing all of this, if your brain burns out and can't take any more information, then prepare some notes. It's like lifting weights, and your brain is a muscle. The more weight it lifts, the more information you will retain. This is a crucial step in taking notes, because if you can't even remember anything, what's the point of writing it? Over time, your brain will sharpen and become faster. Whenever you think that overloading is not for you, just remember, your brain isn't overloaded, it's undertrained. This is a battle-tested formula to ace any exam. No matter the field, you will always be on top. This is the thing that separates a top student from an average one. The average student reads the bland text again and again, thinking that he'll remember it when the exam comes. However, the brain goes blank before you can even blink. It's because an average student doesn't learn. He just passively absorbs the notes like a sponge. But when the time comes to squeeze it out, the brain freezes. This is where recall jumps in. A topper student actively recalls his notes day to day. While making them better, they force their brain to retrieve the information. Thanks to the overloading, they don't have a hard time doing so. Here's how you can actively recall notes while remembering everything. First, close your notes and write everything you know without looking. In this way, you'll know where your shortcomings are. You don't need to be perfect, just improve every time until you can write everything. Secondly, use the Feynman technique, where you read out everything you've learned out loud. If you struggle to do so, it means you still need to recall your notes. Third, use a couple of flashcards to remember the important things. Write the answer on one side and the question on the other side. Recall those questions daily. Lastly, recall before sleeping. This is the most underrated thing when it comes to recalling. But I did it for 2 months, and you know what happened? Everyone started thinking that I was cheating in exams because I would ace each of them. It's up to you whether you want to waste 5 hours to memorize a topic or just 2 hours to learn the whole chapter. This is where most students go down the hill. When they show up in the exam, they train their brain to think about the logic, think about the terms, and then write the answer. Meanwhile, the top students are already leaving after completing their exam. This is because they use the cheat code named plug-and-chug method. This is very simple. Instead of second guessing, just plug in the values. After that, the answer will come automatically. For example, you're learning about force, and its formula is F equals ma, where m is the mass of the object and a is the acceleration. Now, if you start thinking about the logic, whether this is a mass on Earth or the moon, is the acceleration going in the correct direction? You will start overthinking and the bell will ring before you can even answer the question. So, just enter the input and get the output. Make your notes with clear formulas so you don't overthink anything during your exam. Memorize the formula for each value before the exams so you can just plug and chug. It will save you 90% of time overthinking, prevents brain freeze, and trains it for speed. This is the darkest thing that the toppers don't want you to know, and it is called blurting. Just as the name sounds, it has the same meaning, spitting out everything you know about a topic without taking a peek at it. Here's how you can use it to get an unfair advantage over others. First, pick a topic like Newton's laws and write everything about it. Second, don't look at the book until you've written everything, including the formulas. Lastly, open the book and see what you missed after making sure that your brain is empty. I know, this might sound boring, and it actually is, but that's because of your brain. You've trained it to be a lazy jackass that does nothing but sit around and complain. When you read notes over and over again, you remember them for a few hours. When you write what you learn, you will make your brain a strong organ, forcing it to churn out everything. This is why the toppers win. This is why they lead, and this is why you fail. But blurting isn't enough. When you dump your thoughts, it will be a mess. Hence, you need to organize them. The brain loves sequences. It's one of the reasons why you remember a story better than a textbook. So, when the exam is around the corner, just blurt a bit. And whenever you feel down or think that studying is too tough, just remember, there are those who give up when faced with difficulty, while some snatch success with sheer power of will. Hey folks, Shonen here. Hope you enjoyed this video, but listen, just watching this isn't enough. It wasn't productive, like you might be thinking. So instead of just watching, do the hard stuff. And if you really want to know how I went from a backbencher to a topper, watch this video.